Hello, and welcome back to How to Dormammu. This is the third episode of my series of video tutorials for Dormammu in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. My name is Tangrowth, and in today's episode we're going to discuss how to build the perfect Dormammu team. There's a lot to consider. Dormammu's a really needy character in a lot of ways, and requires very specific teammates in order to truly thrive. We're going to discuss Dormammu's best friends, and then also various other characters that can support him in various ways. So don't forget to like and subscribe down below, but we're going to go ahead and hop right in. Alright, so the first thing to consider with Dormammu is where does he go on the team? Dormammu has a lot of aspects going into this, so in a lot of respects he wants to be a point character. He's very strong once he's on the field under certain conditions. He's got a lot of very strong strengths and a lot of prominent weaknesses, but his strengths really do outweigh his weaknesses on point, to the point that he's certainly not just a support. So why doesn't he go on the front of teams usually? Well, the reason is round start. At round start, Dormammu is vulnerable. He doesn't have a ton of meter, he doesn't have a ton of spells, and he doesn't have leeway to build these things up. So unless your Dormammu is just like really cracked, you usually are not able to pull this off. It's much easier to get Dormammu on the field on his own terms, by putting him in the middle of your team. Dormammu in the middle can DHC himself in, or be brought in through a TAC, or there are various characters that can even make a hardtack safe, like Dr. Doom with Sphere Flame. This allows Dormammu to be brought in and have a little bit of leeway, and that tiny bit of leeway is all that he needs to really get set up. Dormammu is a setup character, and if he has to gain all of that ground himself and doesn't have a little bit of leeway to, you know, grab a spell or two, or set up a stalking flare, things are a lot tougher. Generally speaking, Dormammu is strongest on second. You might be asking, why don't we put him on Anchor if he likes to have meter and X Factor so much? And the answer for this is that while Dormammu certainly likes to spend meters, certainly likes to spend your X Factor too, he also really enjoys having a strong assist. So I can't really overstate the value of a strong assist for Dormammu. Putting him in the middle thus allows him to kind of have his Goldilocks situation where he has a strong point character who handles his bad matchups for him and gets him on the field safely. Then he has one or ideally two strong assists which enable him to really thrive once he's there. So for all these reasons, Dormammu goes best on second. And we're going to explore who goes in front, who goes behind, and why. So before we go any farther, I want to take a minute to discuss Dormammu's best friends. In my opinion, there are 5 characters that are roughly worthy of this title. In no particular order, they go Doom, Shumagarath, Magneto, Hager, and Dante. These 5 characters have unique two-way synergy with Dormammu that is remarkably strong. Now, there are plenty of other characters that you can play both in front of or behind Dormammu. Nova is one, MODOK is one off the top of my head. But those 5 characters, Doom, Shuma, Magneto, Hager, and Dante, are incredibly strong on either side of Dormammu and support him in unique and various ways. So we're going to take a minute to discuss each of them in depth. First on the list, of course, is Dr. Doom. The value of Dr. Doom's support comes down to the fact that he is the best support in the game, right? Dormammu certainly benefits from having any Dr. Doom assist, but his assists are kind of only the beginning of the story. Dormammu also really likes being able to tag Dr. Doom in a variety of situations. So for example, you can do that off of big meteors, you can do that off of Inferno, and you can even just do it off back grab in the corner. Additionally, Dormammu really likes having someone who has a strong TAC game, as, you know, sometimes he can burn through all his meter and have a lot of red life and be looking for a safe way to get out. TAC provides that, and Doom being able to convert that into a dead character anywhere on screen is just incredibly strong. Furthermore, the versatility of being able to choose between multiple really strong assists can't be overstated. Where the rest of Dormammu's best friends have 1 strong assist, Doom has 3. All of this combines to make Doom, in my opinion, far and away Dormammu's best friend. Dormammu Dr. Doom Shell, would recommend. Shumagarath is incredibly strong for Dormammu too, absolutely. But there is the aspect of Doom being a really good anchor who doesn't need meter or X Factor to execute a 3-character comeback, where Shuma just doesn't have that. He is not built like that. Shuma's assist is arguably better for Dormammu than either of Hidden Missiles or Plasma Beam, because it OTGs and it is incredibly strong in terms of its timing for him. But Shuma himself as a partner is not nearly as strong as Dr. Doom. There's just a variety of things that Doom does that Shuma doesn't do quite as well. However, if you're willing to go all in on the pairing of Dorm with Mystic Ray, absolutely worth your time. Or if you're willing to put Shuma in front of Dorm and play him on point, that's also a really strong strategy that we've seen executed by the likes of Spiral and Salute. So the pairing is really strong in either direction and is absolutely valuable, not least because of the tech where you can do Team Super. So the 2-button tech with an OTG Team Super is incredibly valuable for Dormammu, but Shumagorath has the additional utility of giving you a hard knockdown after, so you can do Pillar Super again. So for 3 meters, you get like 600,000 damage, way more than anything is level 3. Shuma Dorm just kind of prints damage in every direction, so that's really the main benefit of the pairing, besides just the awesome synergy and the really cool roots, is you're killing off every touch with that team. Mag Dorm is really, really good, really strong. Hot take, I know. It won Evo after all, the very first one for Ultimate Marvel. Magneto Dorm is a really good pairing, and I think you do definitely usually see it in that order. You know, the most iconic player obviously is F-Champ, but there's been a million Mag Dorm Dooms over the years. I can't stress enough, though, how valuable Magneto is as a support character for Dormammu. So Disruptor is one of his best horizontal assists. The timing on it being so fast and having the soft knockdown is really nice. And furthermore, Dormammu is able to convert off of it in really interesting and unique ways. So you can do like Dark Matter with Disruptor, and Dark Matter will hit first, then Disruptor comes in, saves your wall bounce. Really cool, interesting tech. But Dormammu Magneto is a really good and strong shell, and you know, it's similar to Doom in that you have the TAC tech. It's similar to Shuma in having the Team Hyper tech, and it's got its own unique strengths, like the fact that Magneto's just a really, really good point character, and a really good point who can handle Dormammu's bad matchups is kind of invaluable. You know, Magneto can kind of maul Dormammu's worst matchups, these Wolverines and Novas, who otherwise are just going to kind of roll all over you if you try to play Dormammu at round start. You have Magneto on the team, you put him on point, you know, suddenly that's not nearly as much of a threat. And that's not even considering the fact that Magneto is also like a top 5 anchor in the game, right? So I think that's the one thing. Out of these 5 characters, there's 3 that have really genuine anchor capability, and it's Doom, Magneto, and Dante. Magneto is the best anchor of the 3, if he has X and resources, but I think Doom does edge him out if you spend X and all of your resources with Dormammu. So next up, of course, is Hagar, the Mayor of Ur. The Mayor's really good for Dormammu for a variety of reasons, the most obvious of which is Lariat. Lariat is, or at least has a case for being, Dormammu's single best assist, just because it's so good to have a big invulnerable hitbox, and even if they try to low profile it, they're in prime JL range, prime Tri-Dash range. I really can't overstate the value of a reversal assist, and that's what these last 2 fall into, Hagar and Dante, is, you know, more defensive reversal assists that can be used on offense on incoming and in a variety of other situations, but are most useful and derive the majority of their utility from their ability to defend Dormammu from rushdown. Hagar's the best at this. Lariat is awesome. However, the pairing also has strong synergy in either direction. Hagar can get really good combos with Dormammu second, the Team Hyper combo is great for him, and Lariat is a great combo extender for Dormammu in return. Jason Kiddo has shown the value of this, Ramasama back in the day has shown the value of this. Hagar Dorm is just a really, really strong pairing. But Dorm Hagar, you know, if you do run Hagar in the back, is a weird, hard pairing to make work. It's definitely going all in on the point war, or going all in on Dormammu winning. So that's why you usually see Hager in front. But because Lariat is so strong for Dorm, it still qualifies as one of his best friends. Last, and certainly not least, you've got Dante, right? So Dorm Dante is really, really good and really strong for a variety of reasons, but it's really interesting because I feel like it was popularized in a different game. In this one, though, it's unique because both of these characters are really good, and they both really like each other's support, but both of them really want to be on mid. Neither one wants to really be on point at round start because round start is terrible for both of them, and neither really want to be on anchor because while they are both capable anchors with meter and X, neither one is really super duper strong for that purpose, and neither one has a beam. So for all of these reasons, both of these characters want to be on mid. Now, of the two, Dante is more flexible, so what you end up doing is you either put Dante on anchor, where you have Dorm Dante's shell, which is very strong, don't get me wrong, Dorm with Jam is awesome, but a little bit awkward because Dorm really does want that full screen coverage provided by a beam. That's why you usually see the best Storm teams have like a Disruptor or a Plasma Beam on. As a result, you end up with this weird, awkward shell that no point really wants either, because there's only like 3 points in the game that want Dorm Dante, and most of them really just want Dante. And it's basically MODOK, Zero, maybe Morrigan, basically anyone who can provide that level of horizontal coverage on their own, but they don't need a beam. And then they probably would rather have missiles. Instead, the more successful strategy is putting Dante on front, and Dante on point has a similar problem to Dormammu, where he really, really doesn't like the round start. But if you survive round start with Dante, and he's a little bit better at it than Dorm, if you do survive round start with Dante, you're able to get to the point where any touch kills, thanks to Dark Hole, you build oodles of meter, and then you bring Dorm in safely, and then you have Dorm with Jam and Dante Team Super. And those two tools are so good. I cannot stress that enough. Like, if I played Dante, I would probably play him on point with Dorm, because, God, it's so good. Dante Team Super gives Dorm all the freedom in the world to gather spells, and Jam is just so strong for him. So it's a really good pairing. It's just that the team building awkwardness leads to it being like you have to have a really cracked Dante and a really cracked Dorm, and be willing to play them together, and not mind having no true anchor because your third character probably has to be a beam. So it's a lot of prerequisites, but if you meet them all, There's a variety of other characters who I considered putting in this best friends category. Of these, the most prominent is Doctor Strange. Rocket Raccoon, Arthur, and a variety of others, have really strong two-way synergy with Dorm, but what holds them back from being one of his best friends is their reliance on spending meter and X for themselves, or having too similar of a game plan to his. All of Rocket and Arthur and Dorm want to be on mid, they want to be spending meter, they want to be spending X, they want to have a strong assist for themselves. And Dorm and Strange are kind of the same deal, but Strange just prefers to be on anchor because he has no safe incoming. For all of these reasons, these characters are, while very good and strong and worth pairing with Dormammu, just like a hair outside of best friends, in my opinion. That said, if you're looking to build a good Dormammu team, right, here's your quick formula. You want a good point, probably someone faster than Dormammu who can handle his bad matchups at round start and win the point war. It's incredibly important to win the point war and get Dormammu in on his own terms, or at least have someone who's really good at making a quick exit stage right. Magneto is a standout for this reason because, you can just do Disruptor, Shockwave, Chaotic Flame, and not only does that snipe from full screen, it also lets you then bring Dormammu out. Maybe they block the Disruptor, so you go into Sphere Flame instead. Oh no. All you really need, though, is a really good point who uses Dark Hole Assist well and benefits from Dormammu's set play or damage engine capabilities. So some examples of that are Mags, Nova, Taskmaster, Felicia Wesker, Spider-Man. There's a million of them. Here's some of them on the screen, some other honorable mentions. But What holds these characters back from being mentioned in the best friend category is they might lack a strong assist, or they might be too reliant on certain other restrictive team building aspects. You know, some of these characters are really good with Dormammu, but not with a ton of others. The other really important aspect to building a strong Dormammu team then is who goes behind him, right? So we're going to discuss that now. The best assists for Dormammu, you really do, in an ideal world, want to have a horizontal and a vertical. You want to have like a hidden missiles and a beam, or a jam and a beam. But if you can only have one, in my opinion, the horizontal is more important. Dormammu really benefits from having a beam assist. The value of beam teleport is really strong. The value of beam in durability wars is really good, because while Dorm has really high durability projectiles, they're all stationary. He doesn't have anything that moves across the screen with high durability, so a beam and spells together really allow him to combat, you know, say a Morrigan or a Magneto who's just chucking stuff at you. Anyone with a beam is a good choice. Doom is the obvious pick, Magneto, Strange. Iron Man is really good. Or anyone with a strong horizontal like Arthur or Rocket Raccoon. Those are all really strong picks for a third behind Dorm. That said, the absolute best picks are going to be able to function without X Factor and Meter on their own, because Dorm's a thirsty boy. He spends that stuff. This is the reason, I think, more than anything else, that Doom is his true best friend, is that Doom is so self-sufficient. Doom can come in with 0 meters and no X Factor and be like, alright, I'm here to party. That's not really true for many other characters in this game. So, despite all of his limitations, I don't want to make Doom seem like he's perfect. He's pretty perfect. So in conclusion, play Doom. Dormammu has a lot of team building shortcuts, and that's the primary one I would offer you, is play Dr. Doom with him. The value of the Dorm Doom shell is that it can be played with a lot of different characters. But even if you don't, you know, if you play Hager Dorm, you can pick a variety of beam assists on third and succeed. If you play Mag Dorm, you can pick a variety of assists on third and succeed. If you play Spider-Man Dorm, you know, you're a little bit more limited, right? So you might want to play Doom or like Shuma with that team, basically. If you're playing Nova Dorm, kind of same deal. But there are options. If you have Dormammu on the mind and you want to build a good Dorm team, there are options. You know, all you kind of need is a speedy point and a beam, and you can really start off to the races. If you have one of those rare points who can succeed with just Dark Hole and missiles, and they even have a beam assist, I'm looking at you Magneto, I'm looking at you MODOK, then you're really having a good time. That's the other life hack for Doom building, for team building with Dormammu. A little bit of a Freudian slip there, oops. But yeah, in conclusion, Dorm teams are limited, but limitations breed creativity, and I think you can really get creative with them. This has been How to Dormammu Episode 3. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Tangrowth. In the next and final episode, we're going to be reviewing matchups and strategies, so don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching this far, and have a good whatever time it is where you are. Bye-bye.